Many Christian leaders and conservative politicians claim America was founded as a Christian nation. They often distort history in the service of that claim. During the first 3 episodes of Season 2 of this podcast, I debunked historical errors told by Christian nationalists. Notably, during episodes 2 and 3, I fact-checked Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk's claim that the United States was founded as a Christian nation. In this segment, I am taking a somewhat different direction. I'm going to begin with a positive statement. Instead of saying America was not founded as a Christian nation, I assert that the United States of America was founded with a secular government that provides protection for individual religious freedom. When it came to religion, the founders left what to believe about God up to the people. They did not commit the nation to a religion or base the government on any religious authority. Although they failed to extend civil rights to all people within American borders, they did in theory establish a secular government, which eventually was the basis for equality for all citizens. We're currently experiencing many tests of our constitutional rights under the current administration. So I will say again, the United States of America was founded with a secular government that provides protection for individual religious freedom of expression. Here's why. The government of the U.S. is secular in that the Constitution derives its authority from the citizens, we the people, rather than from association with a specific religion. In contrast to European governments at the time, which designated an official religion, the founders of the United States crafted a secular government without religious affiliation. Even though some of the founders were Orthodox Christians, and nearly all of them believed in some religion, the Constitution does not cite any deity or religion as an authority and declares itself the law of the land. The Constitution does not mention religion except to say that, quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States, end quote. The constitutional prohibition of a religious test as a qualification for public service was designed to prevent persecution of citizens due to their religious views, and to allow people of all religious views to be eligible for public service. Without a religious test, one cannot have a Christian nation, since the religious status of those occupying the government is not guaranteed to be Christian. When the states convened their ratifying constitutional conventions, the delegates discussed this clause, and it was clear in the debates that the no religious test clause meant that people of any or no religion could be elected to office. The First Amendment prevents the establishment of a state church and allows the free exercise of religion by citizens. In theory, one may enjoy all civil rights without abiding by any tenet of a religion. The Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom of 1786 reads, quote, our civil rights have no dependence on our religious opinions, no more than our opinions in physics or geometry, end quote. During the Constitutional Convention, delegates rarely cited the Bible or religion. On June 28, 1787, near the end of the day's session, Benjamin Franklin proposed that the delegates pray before each session. However, the delegates discussed it briefly and then adjourned without voting on his motion. They never returned to it, and Franklin wrote in his journal that, quote, the convention, except 3 or 4 persons, thought prayers unnecessary, end quote. Several days later, on July 2, 1787, Pennsylvania delegate Gouverneur Morris said, quote, reason tells us that we are but men, and are not to expect any particular interference of heaven in our favor, end quote. The Treaty of Tripoli of 1791 includes a clause ratified by the Senate and signed by President John Adams that affirms, quote, the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion, end quote. At the time of the Revolution, 9 of 13 states established a form of Christianity as a state religion. That is, they favored Christianity by supporting clergy with taxes and or required office holders to affirm Christianity. By 1833, all states had disestablished state churches, demonstrating that the trend in America was toward separation of church and state. Many in past times who wanted America to be a Christian nation were honest enough to admit what today's Christian nationalists try to cover up and fail to acknowledge. For instance, in 1812, the president of Yale, Timothy Dwight, said in a sermon, quote, "We formed our Constitution without any acknowledgement of God, without any recognition of His mercies to us as a people, of His government, or even of His existence. The convention by which it was formed never asked, even once, His direction or His blessing upon their labors. Thus, we commenced our national existence under the present system without God." End quote. Pastor Samuel Taggart said, also in an 1812 sermon, quote, "In this instance, the United States are exhibiting a new and singular spectacle to the world. A government without a connection with religion of some form is probably a novelty, a phenomenon which the world has never witnessed before. It is a bold experiment, and one which I fear can only issue in national apostasy and national ruin." End quote. In 1815, Connecticut minister Thomas Robin told his congregation, quote, "Our government was formed under the principle of excluding all religious principles and character. The country was universally pleased with this feature of the Constitution, believing that unlike all other prosperous nations that have ever existed, we should rise to national greatness without any national religion. God is not formally recognized, owned, or worshipped." End quote. While it is true that Supreme Court Justice David Brewer in 1892 wrote, "This is a Christian nation," in a Supreme Court decision, Church of the Holy Trinity versus United States, it is also true that later courts rejected this opinion. In 1905, Justice Brewer clarified that America was not a Christian nation in the legal sense, but rather in the cultural sense. About America, Brewer wrote in 1905, quote, "But in what sense can it be called a Christian nation? Not in the sense that Christianity is the established religion, or that people are in any manner compelled to support it. On the contrary, the Constitution specifically provided that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or protecting the free exercise thereof. Neither is it Christian in the sense that all its citizens are either in fact or name Christians. On the contrary, all religions have free scope within our borders. Numbers of our people profess other religions, and many reject all. Nor is it Christian in the sense that a profession of Christianity is a condition of holding office or engaging in the public service, or essential to recognition either politically or socially. In fact, the government as a legal organization is independent of all religions." End quote. Some have lobbied Congress from the beginning of the Republic to amend the Constitution to include Christian language to make America a Christian nation. All such efforts have failed. The truth is that the nation did begin with a bold experiment in separating church and state. James Madison wrote to Louisiana Senator Livingston in 1822, quote, "I have no doubt that every new example will succeed, as every past one has done, in showing that religion and government will both exist in greater purity the less they are mixed together." End quote. Madison's correct. When the founders came together to craft our governing documents, they did not make the United States a Christian republic, even though they could have. You may disagree with what they did, but one must alter the record to come up with some different conclusion. I hope this bonus episode has been enlightening. Regular episodes should begin again in July. Please leave a lovely review, and thanks for listening to Telling Jefferson Lies.